construction gets a bad rap of being kind of less than innovative when it comes to technology. And it's really not the case. There's technology everywhere. You walk out to a job site, there's drones flying around, people have scanner backpacks, right? There is technology everywhere. But the problem that construction historically has had that they kind of built themselves was the silos in the data. So when you have those deep silos between your data elements, it makes it much harder to get a complete picture of what you're tracking, a complete understanding of the project, the issues. And again, going back to searching, it makes it a lot more difficult to find things when you need to make a decision.
Hi everybody, Gavin, Kyle, I'm the Gaffer, and we're back again with another amazing guest who can tell us all about how to transform your business to make it more efficient. If you're looking at making it more lean, or you're looking into the business of lean, or you're looking at a way to, put efficiencies into your business that maybe you mightn't have thought of before, or maybe you felt that that's for the bigger guys and it's not for me, and, I don't have the budget that those bigger guys have. So therefore, putting the likes of innovation in the form of tech innovation into my business is probably something far away from where you are. Well, let me tell you that that's not the case, because I have a super guest here called AJ Waters, and he's got the background, the knowledge, and he's working in a very, very innovative company that helps all types of businesses deal with this particular area. And I'm so happy that he was able to join us all the way from the States. AJ Waters, welcome to I'm the Gaffer. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Excited too, yeah. And, coming off outside of the show, we've had a couple of conversations, and we both agreed that we wouldn't use certain language that people go, oh my God, I've heard all this digital transformation stuff, and I've heard all this, different language being used that sort of frightens people, and go like, well, that's for the big five companies when they're trying to implement change within their business. And I suppose it's hard to sort of not use the language, but it is in a watered down version. What are we talking about here? If I'm a small builder or a small to medium enterprise builder, maybe I've only got 5 people, or maybe I've got 50 people working for me. What are we looking at here in terms of the language of what we're trying to achieve for those type of customers?
Yeah, that's a great question, Gavin, because when you think about, digital transformation sounds like a massive undertaking, right? And that's what scares people so quickly, because it feels like a change of business that's going to totally overrun multiple people, their day jobs. It's gonna cost a lot of money, all those things. But when you're, just a smaller shop or a team of guys and gals that are working together under one name, digital transformation could be as simple as just getting an application that allows you to communicate with one another, right? It could be as simple as getting your drawings out of paper stacks and onto a tablet. It doesn't have to be this monumental software overhaul across the entirety of the platform. It's just about making your life a little bit easier. And like one of the quickest ways to make your life easier is to make information searchable. Yeah. Right? Like contractors spend half their day just trying to find the answer to whatever it is that is in front of them. And to do that with an electronic document where you can search versus page after page after, that's a quick win that removes time, minutes in a lot of cases, from trying to answer a question.
Yeah, we're going to delve into your background, because you obviously have the competency in this area to backs up the statements you've just made. But I'll just give you some of my bias, if you like, in terms of what language I hear or conversation I hear. That thing is going to cost me more money. If that thing breaks down, where am I then? If it goes missing, or if somebody does, I'm going to have to employ somebody who's just going to have to manage that for me, because I'm not good at tech and I don't know how to use, an iMac or a piece of software like this, and that's going to cost me. There's another $40,000 or $50,000 to bring on somebody to manage this. So now I'm managing the software that's supposed to make it efficient for me, but yet all I've done is outsource it to somebody for $50,000 a year or whatever that salary is. So I see barriers just being thrown up all the time, every time I talk to small to medium enterprise owners about why are you doing what you're doing? Like, come on, seriously, like there's so much stuff out there that is actually really, really good, and construction gets a bad name for not being as innovative as it should be, but it is highly innovative. And I'd like to get some thoughts on that if you don't mind, AJ.
Yeah, if there's an objection, I've heard it. Over the last 10 years of working with different companies of all shapes and sizes on their technology journey, we've heard just about every objection that you could even think of, and a lot of times, yeah, the big ones are either I'm not good at tech or it's going to cost too much. And one of the things that people don't realize is software, especially the applications that you're going to use as a smaller provider, is a lot less expensive than you probably think. It's not like buying a new piece of equipment, and it's not even to the extent of hiring a new employee. We're talking it could be less than $5,000 a year, depending on what the software is and what you want to do with it. So these are a lot lower investments than people tend to realize. And then the other side of the coin, I'm not good at tech. Well, you're typically the user. You use tech every day, most likely. It's very rare that you find someone that doesn't have a phone that already has apps on it, right? Or a tablet with apps on it as a user. You're typically the user. The administrator, that could be anyone. That could be the intern you just hired out of college that actually knows how to administer that thing. And again, depending on the software, if you're diligent in how you select and what the requirements are that you're looking for, that administrative overhead could also be quite small, right? And so I think what a lot of people tend to fear is the amount of time and money that needs to be invested to get this up and running. And if they're taking a real good look and they're diligent on their requirements and what exactly it is they want to achieve, they can lower both of those investments pretty significantly.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'd like to get a bit of background on yourself, AJ. Like, serious career, really, really, really well put together career in your own right. And I'm not just throwing smoke at you. Like, give us a sense of your background and the career that you've had. 'Cause it's pretty amazing, actually.
Well, thank you. I'm a product of a lot of really good opportunities, really. So I came out of school as an engineer, went right into construction. I was working for a company called Kiewit in the U.S. They're a top 5 contractor, very large. And for a long time, I was an estimator. I really liked crunching numbers, putting together estimates, and kind of got to travel and do some pretty cool projects across the country as we were building up our vertical build or our commercial arm. And then in about 2010, they decided that Kiewit decided they needed to go through a major technology overhaul, and I volunteered for that project. Tech had always been interesting to me. 2010, a lot of the iPhone, Android, like those things are new. They're kind of changing the world, and so I volunteered for that project. Over the course of the next 5 years, learned a lot and transitioned into construction technology. And in 2015, went to work for a company called Innate. Spent time building tech, so I was kind of on the product side for a little bit. Learned a lot, but only enough to become dangerous. And then went to more of the solutioning side. So like I'd sit down with these people that you're talking about and work up solutions for them based on what, our tech offering was and what they were looking for. And I did that for a number of years, including a stint at Google where I helped them evaluate software for part of their construction business and get the right selection made. And then just this last year, I transitioned over to Kahua to continue kind of spreading the good news about construction tech and working with people to alleviate some of these fears.
So what is it that Kahua do that's other providers? Because I know, with all due respect, this area is highly saturated. So another reason why we wanted you on the show, obviously, that we didn't want to pick people who were just sort of, doing the same as what everybody else is doing. So, what's your point of difference in Kahua that makes you that extra bit special?
Yeah, so the key differentiator for Kahua is built as a platform as a service, instead of what most people are used to as software as a service. So if you think of your major construction technology companies, they're one code base. What you get is what everybody else gets. And if you want something new, you make that request and you get in line, right? And they'll prioritize it, or they may never do it if it doesn't make a lot of sense. Kahua is built as a platform. So like think of your phone as an example. Out of the box, the phone is running a platform service, like iOS is Apple's, right? And out of the box, it does things that phones are expected to do: mail, calendar, phone, etc. Well, Kahua, out of the box, you install it, it does things a project management software is expected to do: documents, cost management, contracts, safety, those things. Yep. But much like the iPhone, Apple didn't believe that they knew everything. They let people build their own apps. So you got hotel apps, you got car rental apps, you got airline apps. Kahua is the same way. We didn't believe we knew everything. We didn't believe we knew how you ran your business. So you might take our contract app and extend it or do something different with it. Or you might decide to build your own app that we never even thought of and create something like sources of funds that allow you to track where you're getting the money from and how you're spending it for compliance reasons. So that's the difference with Kahua, is this platform as a service. And what that allows us to do for some of those smaller vendors, like you talked about, is we can now deliver what we call packaged solutions. So like we have Kahua for healthcare, or Kahua for education, or Kahua for subs, or Kahua for federal. And it's like going to the Apple store and saying, I'm a travel person, give me an iPhone for travel. And it's got all the hotel and airline apps, or saying I'm an influencer and you get an iPhone that has all the social media apps pre-installed, right? Like, so it's kind of that idea, but it custom tailors it down into what you're after, not this massive thing.
So the big question from me, from my ignorant technology background, who owns the data?
Good question. So data ownership is one of the biggest conundrums when it comes to construction technology, because again, historically, depending on the platform that you're using, if you're using a platform as the owner and I'm using it as the contractor, we're going to get in a little tussle. One of us is going to win, and the other one has to duplicate the data in their own system. So like if you win and I have to use your system, I have to log in and do all my RFIs, my submittals, everything in your system. If I want that data in my system, I have to turn over here and do the same thing all over again, right? And so I have to do duplicate entry. With platform as a service, what Kahua offers is we can actually connect the domains. So if I enter it into mine, I can do a data share into yours, and we both own the data. So it's kind of changing the way that people look at that. But yeah, the data ownership conundrum has been a big deal, because for a long time, contractors showed up with the system. They were kind of the first ones to do it. Owners are maturing now, but contractors would show up. So the second they walked off the project, the owner said bye to all their data, right? And that was a huge problem. Now the owners are maturing, and they're starting to win out, because obviously they're paying the bill, and the contractor is the one that has to do duplication. So we worked to solve that so that both can have their own instance and both can have the data.
And so if I thought, oh my God, we need a time clock app and everything that's out there is not good enough. So we're going to build our own app and put it on the Kahua platform. Who owns the proprietary rights to that app?
That's a good question. So if you build it, you own it. We don't take it from you. It's installed on your platform. Now, we also have a partner network where you could employ one of them to build it for you, and then they would own, right, that information. It's kind of up to you how you'd want to go about that, right? But the majority of our customers that build their own apps, nobody else knows about them.
Wow. So fair play. You're very transparent with that, like, because that's from my experience of delving a short bit into the software world, that became very murky waters for me as regards who owns what, and where the code actually sits and who's collecting what. And of course,
right,
being based in Europe with GDP and everything else, it's a big thing, right?
Yeah, and again, like, if you come to us with an idea that we think makes more sense productized to a lot of our customers, we'll end up building it, right? And then you don't have to go through the effort. But if you're going to put in all the effort and it's going to be your proprietary app, yeah, we're definitely not taking it.
So is your business model trying to create a sort of, I don't want to use a competitor's name for this, but a one solution all in one area type model, so that you're not using software like BIM software over here and timesheet models over there and verification and pre-qualification or procurement models over there. You're basically saying we're going to house the whole lot. Come into our house, come into our platform. It's solid, it's secure, it's safe, it's flexible, and we're just going to charge you for the likes of monthly charges or storage. Is that really where the sauce is for you?
It is. And one of the other things that we kind of talked about coming into this is construction gets a bad rap of being kind of less than innovative when it comes to technology. And it's really not the case. There's technology everywhere.
Yeah.
You walk out to a job site, there's drones flying around. People have scanner backpacks, right? There is technology everywhere.
Yeah.
But the problem that construction historically has had that they kind of built themselves was the silos.
Yes.
In the data.
100%.
So when you have those deep silos between your data elements, it makes it much harder to get a complete picture of what you're tracking, a complete understanding of the project, the issues. And again, going back to searching, it makes it a lot more difficult to find things when you need to make a decision. And so back to the question, right, of is this about consolidating information? Absolutely, yes. That is kind of the final step that construction is chasing when it comes to innovation and technology, is consolidating the data and getting a holistic picture of what they're building.
Well, hats off to you, because I definitely seen barriers where companies have tendered, we're a tier one company even, and they've ended up going on trials, like software companies end up going on trials for like 2-year trials with these tier one companies. And then one of the stumbling blocks has always been, well, it's just another piece of software that we have to manage, and it's going to, it's another stretch for us to have to do this, and it doesn't integrate with this, and it doesn't talk to that. So,
right.
And I love the fact that you can downsize, but you can also upscale depending on the success of your business, I would imagine. But it takes me to a corporation called Zoho. You probably have heard of. And I remember when we set up our business in 2011, we used Zoho because it was free. But they were very smart, because you were able to, at the time, Zoho was very aggressive in the market to try and win market share. So they looked at the small companies as well and said, like, how can we help them? We said, well, just give it to them for free. They got all their email, you get a bit of CRM, you get your documentation, And it was built in such a way that you're very small, so you don't have to worry about it. And even the invoicing was free for something like the first 5 customers. You could have the invoicing module on the first version of Zoho, which was phenomenal for like a small company starting off. But then because you became so used to the platform as your business started to grow, even if there was Gmail out there, you were still going, this Zoho thing has me hooked, because
Yep.
we're all on it and it's so easy and so. And I think that's the breakthrough moment, is that if you're like, for business owners, you're smart enough to take risks, to take on a project that could be maybe even 100,000, 500,000, or £1 million project. Why would you not be smart enough to take the risk of taking on something that's going to transform your business from a paper-led business to a, e-form business, that you don't have to have an extra person in administration, that you're actually removing out the inefficiencies. And, I'm sure you have models built where you've proven that you can remove X% of wastage out of companies just for the very fact of using your platform.
Yeah, we do. We've built a number of ROI calculations for folks to try to give them a feel for what their return on investment would be. And for each person, obviously, it's going to be different. For each company, it's going to be different. And one thing that we always try to stress, or at least I try to stress with individuals when we're having this conversation about whether or not we're the right software or any software is right, is there are some honest conversations you're going to have with yourself. And one of those is the fact that nobody learns how to do something new immediately, right? So like when we talk about the idea of an ROI, you should expect the first few months to actually be worse, right? Yeah. You should, the learning curves don't just go up. Learning curves dip first, because you're learning something new. You're changing the way you do business. You've got to get used to the repetitive nature of it, right?
Yeah, people need to buy in.
Once you get past that, then you start to see the efficiency gains. And so we do a lot of work up front to set expectations with people so that they're not underwhelmed when everything goes live and they're like, oh, this is terrible. It stinks. We're not getting anything out of it. Well, you got to give it a little bit of time, because you're talking about creating whole new habits, whole new
it's behavior-based
processes.
Yep.
And so we have a lot of those conversations with people about this is what you can expect to gain. But even before that, let's take a step back and let's have some honest conversations about what it takes to get over that hump.
Well, so little old me have a roofing business. Not that I do, but let's presume I have a roofing business. And with your experience as a very in-depth technology construction expert, tell me where my first gains would be as a small, 10, 15 man crew business. Where are you going to guide me into what I should be looking at to get an instant win on the table?
Well, I would go back to that timesheet app you mentioned. If I were someone like that, being able to put time in against the project so that it all goes to one place and payroll can run, right? Because paper timesheets, in understanding what my cost codes are or what I'm billing against, right? That's an incredible amount of inefficiency. You're talking about 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes every day wasted just trying to figure that out. And then you got to get them all collected. People's get lost. You pay them late. You don't pay them right. Like all those things.
It's a burden.
It's incredibly important. People's livelihoods are at stake, and it's super easy. Like you can find a dozen applications out there that are very easy to use. It's adding a new contract number is not difficult, and the user just plugs it right in on their own phone. Like that's a bring your own device win even. Like you don't even have to buy new tech. They already have the phone, and away you go.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. And it is the one that sticks out for me. Is like, God knows, the guys in the office ringing the guys in the field. You didn't get your timesheet in. Where's your timesheet? Oh, well, I haven't got it signed, and still waiting on himself to come back or herself to come back from lunch, or they're off today, and next thing everything's getting held up because there's this document that has to be physically signed by somebody who can't be found.
Yep, exactly right.
Verify. So, are you telling me then that you could link the timesheet to the to the accounting software?
You can, yeah. A majority of those will let you link them into your accounting software so that you can run payroll right off of it. Worst case, there's an import function that you might have to run depending on what, a lot of times it's dependent on your accounting software more so than the technology. There's another place where construction actually is a little bit behind when it comes to technology and innovation. Is there are a lot of old accounting platforms still out there.
Yeah, there is 100%,
that make life difficult for us technology providers, but we try to figure out the best ways around that.
Yeah, the model seems like exactly, because a lot of our audience, as you know, will be small to medium enterprise builders, owner operators, and it's nice to bring on some guys that have niche software that can actually make a difference. And we've had a couple of people like that. But it's very rare that you get somebody that says, yeah, give me all your apps, give me all your software, let me put it into one place. Let me start consolidating, is the word that you use, which I think is spot on, to stop this. What password was that?
Right.
And what password was that? Oh, they're not in today, so we don't know what the password was changed. Blah blah blah. Oh, forgot password. Let's try it again. I think the construction industry in general needs this consolidation. Have you had any kickback from maybe other software providers basically saying, no, we don't identify with that platform?
What we're seeing is that the majority of providers out there are chasing this platform message. So everybody wants to be that all-in-one platform, and they're all going about it a little bit differently. So the question is, how do you separate yourself in the message versus, competing against, trying to compete one for one against each other. And so that's what we're trying to do, is find ways that we can differentiate. Like a perfect case in point, you said, a majority of the listeners will be medium to smaller business contractors. The subcontractor community is the most undervalued community when it comes to construction technology. They have the fewest options. Nobody has really ever offered them a platform or specific applications. Yet they're the people that do all the work. Like they are the folks in the field getting dirty on many of the projects, right? And so we saw that as a huge opportunity to take a step back from this enterprise platform for a minute and go back to those packaged solutions and say, okay, what is it specifically that subcontractors need? What are they after? And we sat down with a handful of them and put together an entirely new suite of apps just for that use case, because we saw that gap. And when you're trying to be that all-in-one enterprise platform that the big five can handle, scaling back down becomes really, really tough.
Yeah. Like it was kind of a race to the top. And as you say, there was 4 or 5 customers or 4 or 5 companies that kind of broke the ceiling, and they've taken the market share. So why would you want to come upstream and try and challenge that when they've got all the currency on the table and all the traction? Like it's you would just be dumping money into an open hole to try and compete against these guys. Whereas it was a smart move from your company to say, look, no, let's get the house that everybody needs all in one, and let people play around with whichever version they want. And let's not have a class-based platform that only works with tier one companies. Let it be a platform for everybody.
Yeah, and I think most importantly, like, let's not pretend to believe we know everything, right? Because there are thousands of ideas roaming around on job sites right now, because someone is out there doing an activity and they're like, it would be great if, right? And we can't think of all of those. And so believing that you can be a one size fits all out of the box solution is just a myth. And so taking a step back and letting users think what if and what could they do,
it's much more powerful.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge benefit to them.
Yeah, so it's just to give you an antidote, we set up a software business a good few years ago. So our model, one of my main businesses is health and safety, and we set up this software thinking there was a massive need for it, and it was basically you could go online on our platform and you could get a health and safety professional anywhere in the world who can give you advice and support to help you do your business. So it was based on a gig economy. Mm-hmm. So we looked at the likes of Upwork, well, Elance back in the day, but it's now Upwork. And there's obviously Fiverr. And we said, right, this would be brilliant. And so the name Safety Freelancer was taken. So we went and we found the person, I think he was in Kuwait or something, that had taken safetyfreelancer.com. He was working in the oil and gas industry. So we bought the name off him, took on a CTO, and then we said, right, let's go. And we didn't build it with the customer in mind. So we built it thinking that the customer absolutely needs this.
Right.
Oh shit. So it was, this is a hard payday for me. A lot of broken glass, and we came to situations like value-added tax, which is VAT in Europe, and how that's calculated. So it's calculated differently. So if one party is in one part of of Europe in a different country, and you're in a different country, well then there's zero tax on that transaction between the freelancer and the client. But if the freelancer and the client are in the same territory, well then there is VAT. And then, well, who's collecting the VAT? Who's collecting this tax? And
right.
Where's that tax staying? And how's that tax being recorded? And when's that tax going back into the relevant government? But I was going, oh my God, we had to bring in expert tax advisors, and I was like, I just wanted to build a platform on to give people this access thing, thinking that everybody wanted it. And as it turns out, a lot of the clients that we spoke to said, no, we want the guy in the field. We think this is great. And I was like, well, these guys are spending most of their time, and we don't have a white paper on it. They're spending most of their time in front of a laptop, developing paperwork in an administration role, when they should be out in the field, talking to people, coaching, mentoring, and your other guys will have freedom to do more of that while you use the platform to do. No, the lads will do the same. We want them to do the paperwork, and we want them to be in the field. And it broke us. We just had to say, look, we're just going to have to stop this, because it's 2 years down the road. We're just, we see what the bigger guys have built, and we didn't acknowledge or didn't give them the kudos for how much effort, time, and money it takes to actually, get into that dominant position, I would say, we call it. Now, as it turns out, we then had COVID. So we've closed the business, we went back to that, and then COVID comes. So actually, when you need the bloody thing, so then we start getting phone calls. Oh, where's the platform? It's closed. But massive lesson learned out of it in terms of technology. Number one, I'm not a tech person, so we did have a really good CTO who wasn't his issue at all. But I'm sure you've heard this. It was like, if I heard that the next part of the software is coming, if I heard that again, I'd probably cry, because it was just, developers don't have a deadline.
Yes.
They're just constantly building, and they don't.
Yep.
There's no such thing as, well, there it is. It's done now.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm just sort of I have a massive appreciation for what you have built, because you obviously did take the customer journey first and worked your way back and engineered that back to where actually the problem was. Whereas obviously we had our own bias, thinking that, well, this is what they need.
Yeah, when the founders broke ground on the platform that they wanted to build, they had a similar experience to you in their first run. Like, they had built the first web-based platform for construction. And as they learned some of those lessons, that they can't be everything for everyone, that they were becoming the bottleneck of innovation, as they learned all of that, they took that to round two, right? And that's what gave them kind of the starting point to say, all right, now we know what we would have done differently. Let's do it that way, and let's propel this thing forward and make a shift in the industry. Yep.
So give me a sense of Gavin, the roofer builder. What kind of commercials? What's the pricing around something like that? Can you give me some ballparks of what that's going to be for me? Is it a monthly subscription, annual? Is it upfront? What way do you work it?
Yeah, that's a tough one to slice and dice for Gavin the roofer.
Already.
Yeah,
he's on the fence already.
No, it is a subscription. Typically you're going to see these days that software is subscription based for construction.
Yeah.
Depending on the software type, you're going to see it be subscription based on the amount of people that are using it, or based on kind of the size of the project that's using it. And the way that kind of splits it up comes down to like the document control side of things. So if you're into a software that's heavy into digitizing plans and models, it might look more at the size or the value of the project, because it can we can ballpark based on how big the project is, how much data we're hosting, right? And that's kind of where you get that. If it's more along the lines of we talked about the timekeeping app, cost management, contracts, and that sort of thing. It's more about the people and the data transfer back and forth between the people. So that might be more of a user count. It really is, it depends, because what we as providers want to do is work with you. Like, our goal isn't to break you as a company, but our goal is to help you and help the industry. And so we'll be pretty flexible when it comes down to what's it going to take to get you stood up, and we'll also be very transparent with what those costs are up front.
Yeah, but like at the same time, again, like, I see it definitely in the outsourcing business. Like, the timesheet has always been the issue where there's been drama and the cost implications of, not getting that right. And sometimes you're led by the client, and it's not your own system. It's taken out of your own control, and the client goes, well, actually, no, we want them to use our timesheet, because maybe from our perspective, we might be outsourcing people to a client. We have our own timesheet. This is actually one of the reasons we didn't go in our own business on using our own software, was because we were being told by the clients that was taking the contractors from us. Well, they'll use our timesheet. So then you're not going to double up and have your timesheet and their timesheet.
Right.
But then you have all this education about how to use their timesheet model, which, like, it's just, and then you go on to another job and they say, well, we don't use timesheets. Well, what are you using then? Well, it's just paper. So then you're kind of forced into using paper. So like, it is a hit and a miss, where you do want to, I think what I'm trying to say is that the timesheet model is great if you're in control of the labor. If you're an outsourcing business and you're not in control of how the labor is managed, that's where the difficulty arises, is because everybody will have their own different software or no software. Yeah, it's not straightforward. It's not a straightforward, I suppose, not a straightforward solution.
Right. And that's what I think you see that in the industry, even from the provider's standpoint, where in a lot of cases, big platform providers won't maybe necessarily have like a timesheet. They might have a partner network of apps that they integrate with, right?
APIs, whatever, yeah.
Because of that particular conundrum, the GC who buys the major enterprise platform tends not to have control of the labor.
Yes.
So they're not as worried about it. Right. So, yeah.
So give us a bit more of a broad sense then of the management of the, what are the top 5, doesn't matter what size of the business is, what's your top 5, would you say, must-haves on the platform?
Oh, top 5 must-haves. Documents, you digitize your documents so you can find them.
Yeah.
Cost, obviously. Safety.
Yeah.
Contracts. And, oh boy, if I had to go one more, I would call the 5th one, I would call collaboration. And it might kind of sound like a cop-out, but really what that means is like all of your form types, RFIs, change orders, submittals, pay apps, like workflow, all of the stuff that needs to go back and forth between people. So I like to call it collaboration because it covers so many of those things. But even just one of them, right? Like the change order or the pay app could be vital to making your life easier, like getting paid. That's one of the number one things people want, right?
100%. And as well as that, I'm sure it's like a white label product where you just put your own logos onto everything, and as far as everybody's concerned, it's your timesheet, it's your procurement document, it's your drawings document, it's your whatever workflow document, and it has the flexibility to do that, I'm sure, does it?
Yeah. Yep. I was just working yesterday with a friend on building out one of those views for a potential client with their logo on the contract form. Yep.
Fantastic. AJ, give us a bit of sense about yourself then. What about what do you do? What do you like to do in your pastimes? Like, have you got, you into sports, or what's your downtime?
Yeah, so a couple of things. We have 4 kids, so my downtime consists of watching them do sports or music or you name it, drama. Like they are very active kids, so a lot of my free time is being a fan of whatever it is that they're doing.
Brilliant.
If I get a little time to myself, I tend to do a lot of reading, and I build a ton of Legos. Legos are my hobby. So,
give me a favorite book then.
Oh shoot, that's a hard one. My top book would probably be Leadership and Self-Deception.
Oh wow, self-deception. You're going to have to give me some more context on that.
Well, it kind of stems on the whole argument that, like, if you as an individual are struggling in a relationship, whether it be personal or at work, that maybe you have a little bit of, like, part of it is your own selfishness that could be creating that riffle, and so that the self-deception is you're talking yourself up while talking the other person down, and maybe you need to look proactively at the relationship and see how you can solve that.
Wow. It sounds like a really, if you don't mind me saying so, it sounds like a software industry problem.
Fair. Yep, that's fair.
No, you should be no comment, Gavin. No comment. No, it's true. Sometimes, in my experience, you've seen incompetent people become very competent about hiding who they really are, and instead of being true to themselves and just you are who you are, accepted, and we're all flawed. They put up the barriers, and then they manipulate scenarios to suit themselves, and it's a power play. And
right,
that's another podcast for another day.
For sure. Yes, 100%.
Give me a favorite holiday destination so we can all go to the same holiday destination next year.
Oh boy, favorite holiday destination. I tend to like water. So whether it's a lake or a beach, that's where I tend to like to go. We have a family cabin here in Nebraska.
Lovely.
That I grew up with, and every 4th of July in the States, we spend a week at the lake.
I love that. Love that. Yep. And the final one, it's a curveball, but let's see how you get on with it. Knowing what you know now, what would you do different? That could be in business or personal.
Nothing. If I changed anything, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Wow.
And so I would not change anything, because it would equal, it's the butterfly effect. It would equal a completely different lifestyle, and family and all those sorts of things. And I try to just be grateful with what I've got.
Hear to that. AJ, well done. AJ, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure plenty of people have taken away a lot of really good information. I just want to sort of reach out to the listeners and the viewers on YouTube and just say, don't be afraid to take on technology if you're a small contractor. It doesn't cost the world. It's not just AJ, there's other companies out there that you could maybe just, step into on a free version and then get a bit of confidence going and then start looking at the paid version stuff. Just embrace technology to reduce the inefficiencies. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. And I'll never forget someone saying to me recently about AI, and then we're all talking about AI at the moment in the software world. He said, Gavin, it's like being at the start line of a race, and you're in a Porsche and the other person's in a pair of Nikes. So which one do you want to take? So get with it and embrace it. And if, as AJ said, which was a great point in the podcast, you can take on students or people out of college who might be more tech savvy to support you. There should never be a reason why you should put something in front of you that's going to maybe hold you off from being a bigger, better, and more profitable business. AJ, if people want to get in touch with you directly, maybe do a discovery call or just have a general opening call, or give us a sense of how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, you can either find me on LinkedIn or you can find Kahua at kahua.com. Either one of those. And I always like to say, my goal is to help you become more efficient. Whether Kahua is the answer or not, that's still my goal. So even if you just have questions about how to appropriately attack the challenge of evaluating software and making the right selection, I'm not worried if you just want to reach out with a question like that. It doesn't have to mean that Kahua is the right answer. We just want, at the end of the day, you to go home safer with better quality work and getting paid on time, right?
Here. AJ, pleasure. Listen, thank you so much for coming on the I'm the Gaffer show. And we'd love to have you back in the future again, just to see what other success stories you've had. And thanks very much.
You are very welcome. Thanks, Gavin. It's been great.